There we go. Audio's now working. Cool. Hey, now we're actually on the screen now. It's been a while since I've had to run a stream. I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
Anymore? Oh,
Fair point.
talking about things we've not done in a while. Neither of us have started recording Audacity yet.
Oh, we have not. Hey, again.
Uh, we
It's been
apologise.
yeah.
It's been 2 weeks,
been
and
two
I think we're
weeks.
both pretty tired.
I am very tired. I think I slept 3 hours last night.
Oh boy.
It's very exciting. I did not get a Red Bull, so I'm gonna do that after this stream because I have so much more to do. All right, I am streaming, so hey everyone, here's a fun thing. You get to watch us sync live on air. It's gonna be very exciting. Probably not actually, but you know.
Shh, everyone in the audience quiet.
Yeah, everyone be quiet. We gotta do some sticks. You ready, Volly?
Oh yeah.
1, 2, 3. I'll get it.
Nailed it.
Hold on, wait, what?
Nailed
Nope,
it.
mine stopped recording. Are you
Uh.
fucking kidding me? Alright, let's do this one more time.
Okay, hang on a minute. Whoa. Yeah, I'm good. All right.
1, 2, 3. That one was much better though.
That was so bad. I made a belly beats on the meter.
I'll figure it out. It's fine.
Oh boy.
Welcome
everyone.
to Couch for It. You might
We
think I'm
made it
drunk.
back.
I am not.
We're not. We're tired. We've had some of that. We've had some of that good, like a week off or whatever it is. We both had long, hefty weeks and days. So we apologize for the proness of what you're about to see.
Oh, it's gonna be a thing. But
Boy.
let me tell you right off the bat, before we get into anything else, this is a step up from Lost in Space.
Oh boy, is it? Oh, and then I guess we better start this proper then.
Yeah.
Drew, what were your first impressions of
we
episode
haven't
one
even
of?
introduced ourselves yet. Hold on.
No, we haven't. Okay.
I am Drew Tillman, and I am joined by my amazing co-host on this giant blue couch.
I'm Belinda. Hey. Oh, well, we nailed that. Also, this. No, if you may notice, we have finished season 1, which was Lost in Space.
Yes.
We then did the interim, the movie. Me and Casey were going to be doing Final Space last week, but I was swamped with work, so we decided not to. So this week we are moving on to the new series 2 for us, but we watched series 1. We're watching series 1 of Altered Carbon, and holy shit, holy mackerel. I've only apparently, like, having watched the first episode, I remember what I've seen of this series, and it is only episode 1. But I think you've watched all of it, right?
I have seen all of it. That was like right when it came out, because I was looking for something to watch, and I just watched it. But yeah, I've seen all of it.
Yeah. So this is again going to be an interesting one where Drew knows way more than I do.
Yeah.
But anyway,
this is gonna be fun.
first impressions, Drew.
Oh, first impressions. Okay, well, I'm gonna say this is actually technically second impressions for me.
Okay,
And,
that's a good point. Yeah.
I really like the way the show is written. Like, this show it's written well. It's got a lot of atmosphere. It's got a lot of interesting things that they did such a good job of subtly putting in, where you quickly catch on to what's happening. You quickly are like, oh, I know what this is. I can understand that. You don't need anyone to hold your hand and be like, black holes. Black holes, you say? Let's talk about black holes for a minute. Like, they go. They're punchy. They're good.
And it's not like I'm going to about to tell you 1,000 hours of exposition of why this is. It works it naturally into the conversation.
Yes.
It's not even like, oh, I've mentioned this thing and now I'm going to accidentally have to talk about it, even though I wouldn't normally. It's nothing like that. It's perfect. It gives it to you exactly the way it needs to, and it shows you and doesn't tell you, and that's amazing.
Exactly. Actually, before we get too far in it, one of my favorite things of this show is the fact that at times characters will speak in whatever their native language is, and people will just I'm assuming everyone's got a universal translator, or they speak every language, and either one I'm fine with, because they just roll on with it. They're just like, they continue the conversation. It doesn't phase them. No one's like, oh, what did you say?
Yeah, there's none of that crap. They just, like, I think at one point there were 3 languages in a single scene, and they just flowed. They were like, oh, okay, so you spoke Spanish, so you spoke Arabic, so you spoke English. I mean, it was beautifully how it all played out. And yeah, again, I don't care how they do it. It's awesome.
It's so good. I just, when I watched this show the first time, I was not expecting quite as much nudity as I ran into. But Whatever. I can't say anything.
Mhm.
It wasn't what I was expecting, but
I didn't
mostly I
realize.
wasn't expecting it because even shows I've seen on Netflix where they can do anything and they don't have ratings, a lot of them don't tend to have a lot of nudity. But this
Oh
one,
no, they do have ratings on there. Like
I mean,
like
they
for me, it pops up in like the top left. Like
yeah,
this
they do
is
have those like the
big
TV
nudity.
style ratings where it's like
Yeah,
oh 14, age 14 or whatever.
but
But
they
what
don't care.
yes, that's what I mean. Like they don't care. They don't have any real oversight of being like, oh, you can't put that in there. But a lot of
It's gonna be
Netflix,
shown at like 5 in the afternoon. You can't show that.
yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of Netflix
it's like
shows
that.
are just like a lot of them still shy away from like nudity, but
Yeah.
this one, it's just fuck it. It goes all in.
Yeah, it's not Game of Thrones level of nudity like all the freaking time, but it's definitely more than say like Happy Days.
It's more like the new Blade Runner,
Not
where
seen it.
there's a lot of nudity to the point because like people are just like it's the future where people just go around and get hookers and fuck wildly, So like nudity is like yeah whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just one of the things you get up. It's the human body. It's a beautiful, wonderful thing.
Yep,
Sure, let's show it off.
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's actually dive into this episode now. And opening scene I really like because the opening scene is
Oh, I have to roll you back from
hold
the
on, no,
opening
yeah,
scene.
because I also want to talk about this. My
uh,
camera just totally. Hey, you want to focus on
it
me?
did totally just freaked
Hey,
out.
there we
There
go.
you go. I have to say we were trash fired on Lost in Space for the opening credits. This was an amazing
Oh,
set of
right.
opening credits. It was incredible. The way that they shifted from image to image was just amazing. The way they blended it in from being, I think it was a snake at one point, to being a tattoo on someone's back.
Hmm.
It was so masterfully done. It was like that, my friends, is how you do an intro.
Oh yeah.
I'm not saying I'd want to watch it every time I watch the show,
Thank
but
God for
it
that
being
skip
the
intro
first
button.
thing. Thank God for skip intro. Yeah, I don't know how to rewind it forward 3 minutes. Like it's not a short intro, but it's a really good one.
It's
It's like you
very
want to do
well
an intro,
done.
that's how you do it. It's like
Yes.
movie level intro. It's
It wasn't.
fucking
It
awesome.
wasn't Lost in Space. I'm gonna rag on Lost in Space still. It's just gonna happen. It wasn't that where it was just like, hey, we have a bunch of still images that we kind of did some VFX to. This was all VFX for the most part.
Yeah.
Like, the snake slithers around and you see like cities on it and in it, and then it turns into a tattoo at the end. It's
Yeah.
so well done, and more shows need to have intros like this that are just because
Yeah.
the intro doesn't tell you anything, which I'm fine with. It's just cool to watch.
Well, the thing is in this one, I think they had like the stack imagery in it, and it also has the snake imagery
It
in it.
does have that stuff in it, but until you see the first episode,
Yeah, until you see the episodes. Like I noticed, I saw some things already from just watching episode one, like the stacks, the snake, the city, and I think the woman in it. It's like
yes,
all those things are they're just very subtly in there. They're just images to set you in the right frame of mind, and it really did. I paused it and like, oh, this is gonna be pretty good. I'm gonna put my notepad and then didn't write anything, but it was still good.
it's fine.
Anyway,
so then,
opening-
yeah, the first scene is
opening scene.
it starts with a person floating in water with a tube connected to his face
Yes,
because that's sci-fi.
naked dude underwater with something strapped to his face. Because
Yep.
why wouldn't you?
And then it cuts back because we don't know who this dude is yet, but it cuts back to another guy and this lady in the shower washing blood off of themselves.
Oh, that was cool.
Yes, that was a very good one. And then it cuts back to the guy in the water, and it kind of cuts back and forth a little bit, so you kind of...
Yeah, there's this female voice who's narrating over the intro, and it's something deep and meaningful, like don't trust your memories, don't trust what they show you, don't trust this, carry on with yada yada
You were
yada.
not your body. That's actually one of my favorite lines.
Which I actually think was actually really fucking deep. Like if you think about it, like we aren't just what our bodies are,
Exactly.
like at all.
And
It's
got
it's-
an extra meaning in Altered Carbon.
It does. I originally think it's like, oh, maybe it's like, that old adage of like you fall in with a person, not their body sort of thing. And it's like, oh, right, yeah, also covered. Oh,
Oh, wait,
now I get it.
there's another thing.
Oh, right, yeah, there's actual literally meaning in this. Okay, which is pretty good.
Yes.
Oh, very cool. I'm sorry, I'm peeking up my meter and I don't know why. Sorry. Yeah, it's It's very, very cool. So we flip between like these different things. We flip between the dude in the water because it's sci-fi. We see another guy having sex with someone in the shower, I think, which again was very artfully done because it's only done through like headshots, literally headshots.
Oh yeah,
This entire thing,
just headshots.
yeah.
And then we get a flash of when they're having sex. We get a flash of two other people having sex. One of which is the guy that's in the shower, and one is a woman that at the moment we have no idea who the fuck she is.
Yeah, and then there's like a flash to another one where you just like see her face and she's like mouthing a word or something.
Yes.
We find out what that is later, but
do.
at the time you don't know what it is.
And then this little scene plays out. Then it cuts to him getting a big rubber body bag gets slapped on a gurney, and someone was like, "Hey, they don't cover this in basic. This is disgusting." And the guy's like, "Don't worry about it. Just get him out of the bag."
Yeah. This is when like the episode starts properly, where like they're literally having like this like doggy bag that's filled with like this gel, and they shove him on the thing. And they're like, "Well, I guess we better cut him out." Like no one ever tells me about this. Like, well, you better get over it.
You're gonna find out. And they unzip it and just goop.
I have
so
to say,
goop.
like freaking like props for that goop. That goop was disgusting.
It was, which by the way, such a good sci-fi thing of just here's a bag full of goop.
Yeah, this is goop. It's like you're gonna need.
We don't explain what it does. You kind of get from context. It's probably medical in some way, but we don't actually know.
We're not telling you.
It could just be a weird fetish that someone has of just being like, we got all these bodies, let's put them in goop bags.
Yeah, I like the way it's like, I think it's between the trainee and the guy who's training her, and they go through this conversation like, yeah, you'll get over it fairly quickly. Yeah, we got 4 more of these to do this. I'll get on with it. And it just says that there's like, this is just a job for them. It's just a job to like do whatever the hell is happening to this guy.
Yep. And then the guy's like, let me show you how to take out the umbilicus, which is the thing strapped to this dude's face, and he grabs it. And the guy wakes up and grabs his hand and starts freaking out because as the guy who's unboxing him basically says, oh, it usually means their last sleeve died violently. And then we cut back again to the guy and the woman who were in the shower a little while ago.
Yeah.
And they're just chilling in a hotel room while the girl cleans
a bunch of stacks.
Which at the moment we don't know what they are yet. She's just
we don't know at that time, yeah.
Little glowy discs at the moment.
They're like the design of them are really cool. They're kind of like, I don't know if they're like round or hexagon shaped or something, but they've got like a bunch of little like gem looking things in them.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely look like they would fit in a spinal column. They're very well designed. They look kind of like a fake vertebra.
Yeah, exactly. And I think she even says like they get some bone fragments stuck in it, and it's really annoying. You're like, oh, what's that coming from? Yeah. Okay. And at this point, I think we begin to realize, like, as the audience, I haven't actually sat down and watched this episode the whole way through ever. And this is the first time I'd ever sat down it. I caught it in glimpses over my housemate's shoulder before. And like at this point, I picked up like, oh, sleeve means person body. Oh, okay.
There you go.
It's like just from just like 2 little scenes where they don't overtly say a human body is referred to as a sleeve. They just do it, and you're like, oh, context picks up.
It's sort of like, this is a weird example, but I'm going to go with it. It's sort of like Clockwork Orange, where he uses a lot of slang in the book, and you just start picking it up because you're like, oh, okay, I got this. You don't have to explain things to your audience. You can just let them figure it out if you do it right.
Exactly, and this, like, yeah, I definitely like taking a step from the side here and like saying, let's talk about the whole of this rather than like scene by scene. Or like their writing in this is phenomenal.
Oh,
it's so good. Like they don't actively sit and explain very much. I think the only thing they ever like purposely drop, this is an explanation, is talking about the AI hotel. That's the only time I ever picked this up. Everything else is subtly worked in. It's so good.
And then the guy looks at a wall and is like, oh, people are here with lethal loads. And she's like, oh, you can see through walls now? And then the wall blows up as someone detonates it with a charge, like a ship charge, and cops pour in. Future cops, by the way, because they're not regular cops. They've got like
these like helmet designs are also
they're wearing body armor, like full body armor, and these helmets that cover their head and have like 6 lines on them. So the first time you see them, you're like, are these aliens? Because it looks like they have 6 eyes.
Yeah, they have like these like round red things, and it was very reminiscent of what the stacks look like, except the stacks are blue colored.
Yeah, and there's a cool fight scene here. Well, a cool firefight, I guess, because it's not really a fight scene.
No.
A bunch of people die, and then someone takes like one of the guys takes his helmet off, and you're like, oh, it's just a person in like fucking
Yeah, I was
weird
wondering,
riot
is this
gear.
a robot? And clearly not.
Yeah, but like the first time you see it, you're like, oh, these are faceless robots or aliens or something. They're not human. We're against aliens or something. Nope.
Oh,
It's
this
just,
this is clearly a reflection on something bigger and deeper here, Drew.
oh, you didn't get this? Like maybe they're not fully people, the faceless enemy kind of thing.
They're supposed to be people, but they represent like the faceless corporations.
All right. Maybe I'm reading too far into it.
Maybe I'm reading too far into it because that's clearly not what you meant.
I mean, it's they're supposed to be faceless. Like that's really the whole point.
Yeah, they're not important enough to have faces.
Yes.
We don't want to pay the actors. So stick face mask on everyone is going to do a double job here.
Yep. And then they, oh man, what do they do?
I think so. Like, I think we flash back to this a couple of times during the episode to find out exactly what happens. So in this little scenario, we find out that this guy, like in his former sleeve, like it was a sleeve as well, yeah. In his former sleeve, he was hiding out this place, and they got a bunch of stacks. He and this woman, between them they kill a bunch of these guys. But the other forces are just way too many of them. And eventually he gets shot. The girl that's with him gets shot in the back of the neck,
which breaks her stack. And that is real death, as we find out.
That's real death, as they call it. Yeah, real death. And then the dude is like, "Oh no, I'm still going to have you because that was just rude." And then like the guy who actually takes his mask off, which we assume to be the ultimate villain of this piece at some point. Well, I'm going to assume anyway. Basically just guns him down.
Oh yeah, they fill him full of like bullets, so many bullets,
so much lead. Yeah, they fill him full of so much lead.
But he comes back to the hospital.
Yeah, to that sleeve. Yeah.
Yeah, to the new sleeve where he's like freaking out. He's beating up these like nurses basically.
Yeah.
And he gets them to give him a mirror, and he's like, "Where am I?" Like basically, everyone's freaked out by how fast this guy got capable. Like he got up and was moving and fighting within seconds. And everyone's like, "Oh, it usually takes a few hours for a new sleeve to like get used to their body."
They even like bring over a wheelchair for him. Is how much they expect it not to be a thing.
No, but as soon as he sees his face and like has his own little freak out, he just gets up and he's like, "Where are the showers?" and just walks off,
completely naked.
And everyone's like, "Oh my god, he's moving around."
Yeah, and I really liked the pick. Like someone he basically yells at them to get a mirror, and like, no, you'll have a psychotic break. And he's like, no, get me a freaking mirror. So they turn over like one of the trays and give it to him. And you see this thing where you see him looking in the reflection, and it's this other guy, and you're like, oh, that's the guy he was in before.
Yeah,
the body
it has a nice
was
like
before.
moment, like, okay, that's that guy, and then like it does this weird like
little flash thing,
and then it replaces with
the new sleeve.
The new sleeve. The
new face, yeah.
The main actor for this.
Yeah. And that was really cool. Like it was interesting to see in that thing like how freaked out all like even the random extras were in that, because there were like two nurses that come in. There was the girl and the guy who was decanting him, and they did a really good job of being like, this isn't normal, because even me as like at this point we don't know that this isn't completely normal.
Yeah, no, this is like they're freaked out. We're just like,
it's like, they're freaking out. Oh no, this is supposed to be a horrible, like not easy thing to do. Fair enough, we'll go with it then. And then he walks into the showers.
He gets a shower, and then it cuts to the part where it explains what a stack is, and the fact that every citizen of the Protectorate is what they call the UN or collection of worlds or whatever. Every citizen gets one implanted in their spine at the age of 1, and it contains DHF is what they call it, and that is your more or less soul. It's all your memories, your thought patterns, your anything like that. It's what makes you in a simple sense.
It's essentially just all of the human memories. And this stack can be moved from, as they say, sleeve to sleeve. Again, this is really nice because it doesn't feel like a complete info dump.
No, it kind of makes sense because as the hologram explaining says that you're in a new sleeve. Let's talk about this thing for a second. You could have some amnesia. It's entirely possible when you get re-sleeved to just kind of forget some things. So here's like a quick little rundown of what's happening and where you are.
The reason I thought, like, so like to bring the broader like idea of what this scene looks like. It looks like a bunch of people sitting down in some chairs, not knowing what the fuck is going on, and having this like "Welcome to your new life" speech from this woman who's like standing nearby. Like the air hostess is like, "I'm going to explain what's going on, children." It was really like well done because like you're seeing everyone else looking completely like stoned out of their gourd, not knowing what's going on, or looking really scared, and you see him having a cigarette. So he's clearly the most animated person in this room, other than the hologram.
Everyone else is like playing with their hair and stuff.
Yeah, and what I really liked about this hologram scene is that they managed to explain what is going on. It didn't feel like an exposition scene, and they beautifully worked into this idea of being re-sleeved this way means that you're going to have amnesia, so we have to explain something. Point on having a decent reason to explain it. Yep. Two, there could be like audible and visual hallucinations, which means they can do flashbacks. Tick. They can have people interact with them. Tick. Yes.
They can do pretty much anything they want here, and it's explained.
Yes, and they explain what the stacks are, which is basically it's your memory. And so long as you don't get electrocuted in the head, or you don't get like the stack blown out of the back of your spine, it's not death, as we know.
You're good.
You just move to another new sleeve. And it's so wonderfully done because it explains the entire premise of what this is in about 3 minutes. It's amazing, and it didn't feel forced. It felt amazingly well played, and it was like drawn into it. It was really good.
Yep. And then Orderly grabs our main character on the shoulder and says the warden wants to see you. So then it cuts to a scene where he's talking to some Weasley looking dude in a suit who's more or less listing why this guy was in jail. Because moments ago we found out he's in jail. Is they pull your stack out of your body, out of your sleeve, and just throw you in a drawer, basically. They're just like, here you go, you're in a drawer, don't care. And your bodies are used for other things.
Yes.
So then the warden's just like, yeah, I know about people like you. You're dangerous. You're deadly. You were in jail for 250 years. You honestly shouldn't even be out of jail because there's no end date to your sentence. Like,
yep.
Sorry. And he basically, then he tells him he's been leased. Like, his sleeve, the sleeve he's in, which is a fully combat capable sleeve with combat memories and enhanced senses, has been leased along with his stack by this guy named Lawrence Bancroft. And he's like, what about my rights? And he's like, you don't have any. You're a prisoner. So the world is clearly... This is our first glimpse into the world is a big pile of shit.
Yeah. At this point, we realized everything is not right. Like, humans are supposed to have rights, regardless of who the fuck they are. Yeah. So he's been leased to this guy Bancroft, and then we follow our main dude out
where
to
we
like
meet
the entrance hall, which is a bit like like if you go to the airport when you've had people waiting for you, you got that too. Yeah, like they come out of like the area where they clearly have been, and there's a bunch of people waiting for them, and they're all different types of people standing.
Because imagine going to the airport to pick up someone you know, but having no idea what they're going to look like when they get off the plane.
Yes, that is exactly what this was supposed to feel, and this is pretty much exactly how they show it and demonstrate it as well.
It's awful what this happens in this scene, because this old woman walks up and she's like, "Mommy," because you find out that a little girl was killed in a hit and run, and victims are entitled to a free sleeve, but it's kind of whatever sleeve they have laying around. So this 7-year-old girl got stuck in this old lady's body.
Yeah, and it's like, oh man, that's harsh. And like, she's a kid, she's entitled to a free sleeve. And it's like, yeah, you want a better one, pay for one.
A free sleeve.
And it was so cold the way that those lines were delivered. It's like, well, if you want a better one, then stick her back on ice and pay for a better one. And it was like, oh boy, that's cold.
Fucked up.
It's unreal. So then they get taken outside, and there are a bunch of these like pro.
I forgot what they call them, but basically they're. You find out later they're basically some form of like new version of Catholicism where you're born with one sleeve, and when you die, if they spin you back up, your soul automatically goes to hell.
Yeah.
Spin you back up is a term in the show where basically meaning if they put your stack into a new sleeve, like a new body, you automatically go to hell at that point.
Yeah, if you do that, because you're only supposed to have one body, you have one soul. And also they were saying like
those aren't the Catholic people. those are spirit talkers, I think. Basically, these people are basically saying that if you're murdered, you should always be spun back up, so that the police can be like, "Hey, who killed you?"
Yeah, because who's the better witness to your death than you?
Exactly. But a
Which is what most of them
law,
are saying.
yeah. And then he gets into a car, and we get another little info dump that's disguised very pleasantly.
Yes.
Where quickly you find out that a law has been passed that says no, murder victims are not allowed to be spun back up at all, because somebody high up says no. I mean, somebody with power says no, and that's that.
Yeah.
So you can't do it. Sorry.
The archdiocese, I think it was they called him.
Yeah, so anyone who's... Basically, these people are trying to say anyone who's murdered should always be spun up, and the archdiocese, which is some sort of new Catholicism type thing, says, nope, if you are one of us, if you are spun back up, you go to hell, fuck you. And there's like a legal thing where if you are one of these people, no one can re-sleeve you at all.
Yes.
It's...
Yeah, we find this. They find this out from the person that who's picked him up. This young woman.
Yep.
She says she works security, and she asks him a bunch of these probing questions, which are kind of partly for our sake and partly because she's trying to find out who the hell this guy is.
Mm-hmm.
Just very secretly on the slide, she takes him to where he's supposed to be, and that's when we find out she's actually a cop. She's not like this person like trying to find out who he is or where he comes from or what he does. She's just trying to find out who he is because he is basically of someone of interest to someone who is an interested person in one of the cases he's working on.
Yep.
So she wants to find out what the hell is going on. But again, like this getting to know her thing, getting to know him thing, very cleverly done. And it drops so much info in that very little area. It's like it's so well just.
You find out that the people who want people to come like be interrogated after their death are there. You find out that there's people called meths, as they call them, because in the days of Methuselah, his years were 969. Like basically just really old rich people.
Yeah.
You find out, you see a glimpse of the Golden Gate Bridge covered in houses, like shipping container houses.
Yeah.
So you kind of like it establishes where you're at on Earth. I mean, you kind of know because they're in Alcatraz.
Yeah. At least she starts like, you're in Alcatraz prison. Welcome.
Yeah. But you see the Golden Gate Bridge, which has been converted into like slum housing because all the cars fly, by the way. So you don't need roads.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we forgot that small detail. In the future, the cars fly.
Cars fly. You find out. She like just asking questions, so you get kind of like some view of him and some view of the world, and then they show up near this tower that they apparently call the Arium, which is a big, weirdly designed tower full of rich people.
Yep.
Just so they can live above the clouds.
So they don't have to deal with the messiness of our lives. I think is how she put it, and it was amazing.
And here's a big thing I want to point out. So they land on the tower, and the lady crashes the car, which is kind of funny. But then this security force comes out, followed by a rich lady, who is Lawrence Bancroft's wife. And I want to say this. How come whenever there's a future thing where there's rich and powerful people who rule everything, why do people immediately revert into, like, vague Romanesque type things? She's wearing a toga. She's just wearing this, like, thin, single-sheet toga. And I'm like, because it's not uncommon. If there's ever, like, a sci-fi thing where there's, like, super rich people in power, somehow it always turns into Romanesque, and I don't get it.
It's some sort of toga party. I think it's supposed to like evoke that idea of like they're untouchable. They have like a lot of money. Like if you think back, like the Romans who had like, because power you see like little freaking like golden leafy halo-y things on their heads. They're walking about in togas. They're proclaiming things that they do on a forum. Like you don't really think of the scum guys from Roman times who ran with like maybe a loincloth on.
You know what? I guess that's fair. But all this outfit really does is draw attention to her one hard nipple. I'm sorry. That's it. That is
all
true. All that outfit does.
That is true. But I think there's supposed to be a reason for that. Like, not the one nipple thing. It's probably just gonna go
it's probably just cold, to be honest. Like I'm fine with that.
They're quite high, quite high in the clouds. I assume.
Yeah, no.
We don't look. You know.
I'm not knocking.
I'm just saying
nipple. The outfit. All it really does is draw attention to it.
Yeah. So we have that going on, and then after they have this little conversation, the actual police car arrives, lands, and delivers this young man. And this young man, we find out, is actually this exceptionally beautiful, young-looking woman's son. And then we
Yes.
figure, or at least I figure, she has to have been reslaved. That's clearly the thing. And I think the point is that she's supposed to look young and gorgeous because they can afford to look young and gorgeous.
Exactly. Basically, the rich, the meths, as they call them,
Yep.
can re-sleeve themselves whenever they want into whoever they want because they have a lot of money.
And I'm going to go out on a limb. I haven't seen this, but I'm going to go out on a limb with whatever they want because from what I picked up in context, our main hero has upgrades, right? He has some like little upgrades in
you
him.
can get body modifications for your sleeves if you have the money.
There we go. So yeah, I assume everyone's modded to the gills.
Oh, all the rich people definitely are. Which,
Oh yeah.
quick peek behind the curtain, you get to see some later, and it's just fucking nonsense what they do.
There is a very cool body mod actually. I remember, and I'll get to when we hit that soon. It's freaking good. All right, so we see this young woman, we see the young man, and he's like, "I'm not a chauffeur. Don't send me to do this job."
Yes.
And then they go inside the house. The female cop basically gets told to shove it and go away by the woman in charge. Sorry, the very rich woman. And they go in and they come into this like hallway, which we see from like we literally start like the shot starts at the very top of the room and pans its way down, and it is gorgeous. I mean, it's like this double vaulted room, and there's like this big green tree thing which is like leaping its way around. And I was like, oh mate, like the light is kind of dappled and like in shafts in here. I was like, oh, is this a dilapidated building that just looks overtaken? But oh no, she's designed it to make it look like this. Okay, that's kind of cool.
Because you find out this is called a songspire tree. It's the only one on Earth. It could have been part of ancient civilization's architecture because
they called it elder civilization.
Yes, they call it elder civilization because they hint at that there was something before humanity made it outside of Earth and into the stars. They hinted at there was a civilization that spanned the stars previously. And then she says that the tallest of these songspire trees are thousands of meters high, to which our main character replies, I know, I've seen them. Actually, before they actually go inside, the cop lady asks him what his name is, and he says Takeshi Kovacs. And he's like, look me up, and he walks off. And then she follows him, she's like, that's impossible, all the envoys are dead. You don't yet know what an envoy is.
Yes.
But clearly, according to the people in this world, envoys are dangerous. They're scary, dangerous boogeymen that come out of the shadows and murder you.
Yeah. He was not met with the greatest reception from Cop Lady.
No, it's actually funny because this show, up until a certain point, has that moment of our main character's a super badass. Like, he's so badass, everyone's afraid of him. It has that Steven Seagal thing of just like, that's the wolf, and the wolf can kill 500 people with his bare hands. Like, instead of just showing something happen.
Yeah.
And it has that to a degree. But it's funny because at no point does our main character particularly act like a badass. He kind of just like, fuck off.
Like up to this point, he's been very
he's been fairly polite. To a degree, because I mean, I'll be polite, but if someone's like, "Hey, fuck you, you're a coward and an asshole," I might be like, "No, fuck you."
No, fuck you, man. Like, yeah, he's like. There's no threat or real menace coming off him at this point. Like, you're just like, all right, okay, he's just a guy who just has a bit of a bad attitude, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, I don't see why everyone, like, especially cop ladies, like, that's really terrible. That's really scary. And yeah, that's like probably the only thing is up to this point. It is everyone's saying how bad. I was like, it's the same as saying like, oh, like Will Robinson's really smart. Like
Will Robinson's so smart. Like, I haven't seen that happen yet.
He's not smart at all. Whereas like at this point, this thing is like up to this point, everyone's saying like he's his badass. It's weird and scary. And like, yes, he did do the getting up and walking around on your legs thing, like way before he should have.
That could have been a fluke, honestly.
Exactly. That could just been like really poor execution of a plot. As we find out, that's amazing execution of a plot, but we don't know.
Is. Not yet. But so jumping back inside, after they see the Songspire tree, he goes up into the study where he meets Lawrence Bancroft, who is I've seen this actor and I cannot think of who the fuck he is.
I can't place him either. There's a couple of really good like big names in it. I can't place and it bugs the hell out of me.
Right? I'm like, I know this person. I know where have I seen them?
Where do you come from? Anyway. So he goes in there and he has this conversation.
We get one of those wonderful scenes of the main character standing there while the possible villain more or less like smugs at them. Because he's in this like double library, like 2-floor library with a balcony, and the guy's up on the balcony just like, yes, ha ha ha, like basically revealing how smug and rich he is and evil.
Yeah.
And wandering around slowly while our main character stands there.
Yeah, he does the I'm on a position of power up high. Don't forget your place, which is down below me. I have all these very cool and expensive toys up here, and I'm going to come down upon your level and gift you something because I am glorious. And this is very well played. It really is. It's a case of like coming down. It's like, I will gift you this, and I shall gift you that. I shall give you lots of money. I shall give you a new sleeve should you want. I will give you this. You get to keep this book which I ordered, which clearly means something to you.
Yeah, he offers him a lot though. Like,
he does offer him
full pardon, time served sentence, 50 million credits, and a line of credit in his name.
Yes.
Which I thought was kind of funny. It's like, I'll open a line of credit for you, and then if you do this thing I want, I'll also give you 50 million credits. Like, I could just pull out 50 million credits, man. You just gave me a line of credit. I can just take whatever I want.
Exactly. It was still having his freedom is one thing.
Yeah.
And he basically says, I want you to do this because I want you to solve a murder. And no, before we get to that point, before we get to the like why he wants to do this, this is the point in which I thought it was wonderfully well like dealt with. We finally get to see what the fuck is going on. Until this point, we seem as a very like not a very proactive person. He just has a bad attitude, and he doesn't seem threatening. He doesn't seem menacing. He doesn't seem anything big or scary about him. But there's this one bit where he takes back the book. He hands the book back over, and he basically says, "I've been very polite all morning, but tell me what the fuck is going on." And I don't know what the delivery was on that line, but you could see and feel suddenly the menace of him. Like, he's not actually fucking around now. He's actually hit the limit of his patience.
Yeah, like,
and the person who could give him answers. And now he wants fucking answers.
And if he so wanted to, he would murder this man, and it wouldn't matter to him. Like,
yeah, at that point. Yeah, at that point, that confidence played with that I've now found the right thing. I've aimed my anger at the right person. It's like, oh boy, he doesn't even raise his voice very much.
Oh no.
It's just something in that delivery which is like, fuck, man, that's
delivery.
Fantastic.
To my point of seeing that whole thing of like this guy being a badass and you never seeing it, even during the flashbacks where you find out where he died, he doesn't really do anything badass. Like, he kind of just stands in a corner and shoots a couple people and then dies.
Yes.
Like, that's the entirety. Like, he doesn't do anything interesting. It's like, this is one of the most dangerous people in the galaxy, is it? Okay.
Yeah. It was just something in the delivery of that which made everything we've seen before like, oh, he's just playing a long game. Oh boy.
Oh, okay. He might murder this guy. Okay.
Yeah. And then he goes on, and then the other guy goes on to explain that I was murdered.
He's like, I was murdered, and I want you to find out who murdered me, and here are the things, because it's a locked door mystery. Like, it's a locked door mystery of, I was in this room, my stack was blown out with a particle weapon, which is in a safe that only I and my wife have access to, because it's biometrically locked. My stack is automatically cast up to a satellite every 48 hours.
And it was done 10 minutes before his next upload. So he's lost basically 48 hours worth of stuff.
Yes. So basically, he wants Kovac to solve his murder because he doesn't remember anything about the 48 hours, and he wants to know who killed him.
Yeah.
And Kovac is like, go fuck yourself, dude. I'll go back to prison. And he's like, okay, well, why don't you take a day, think about it, get back to me. So then I actually like this scene because Kovac leaves, he's down in the city. It's very Blade Runner. Like, there's like signs everywhere and people wearing like just fucking crazy ass combinations of clothing and wearing like masks to like filter the air. And there's like food vendors and stuff just all over the place.
It's very grim, futuresque. It very much like Blade Runner being one. I don't know if you've probably seen it. You're a fellow nerd. The Doctor Who episodes where they go to New York, and it's all that lower level like scum area. It very much reminds me of those kind of like bleak, dark, depressive, futuristic things you see. It's done.
It's the street level in Coruscant, basically. Let's put the Star Wars spin on this. It is the lower level of a hive in 40K. It's a bad place. You don't want to go there unless you have to.
That was going to be my next reference.
I felt someone out there is going to get that reference.
It may only be me. No, I don't think it's going to be me. Everyone loves 40K.
So yeah, like it's like the scary place, and then he's been carrying around this fucking little like weird shaped thing for most of the episode. And the first time I saw it, I thought it was like a brush because I never got a good look at it because I thought it was like a handle with a little like splayed out brush because I couldn't see what it really was. But it turns out it's a contact thing, like it inserts a thing into your eye, which is of course a computer / cell phone / its future. I don't know what you want. Like it's something from the future that does stuff.
It's a communication device.
Yeah, he puts it in though, and all of a sudden this really drab street lights up because all the ads are just beamed directly into your eyeball cell phone.
Oh, no, you've jumped forward just a little bit.
Oh, you're right, I did jump forward.
Just a little bit. So he sits on the edge of a canal, which I thought was like the most cool thing. He just sits on the edge of a canal. He's reading this book that he was given, and he starts having a conversation with this random woman. And you realize this random woman, as she turns to him, is like, "Of course I'm not real. What's your problem?" Which is really cool. Mm-hmm. And we find out that it's his sister,
it's his
right?
Little sister.
That one's his sister. And I think from context, just supposed to pick up from like some of the little flashbacks he has that his sister is a badass and he's not as badass as she is, I think is what I'm supposed to pick up here. And he has this little conversation with her, which basically means, yeah, I'm gonna go fuck, I'm gonna go get high, and then I'm gonna go back on ice.
Yes, and then this scene I actually wanted to bring up his buying drugs scene.
It was amazing.
Because he walks up to this dude who's just like, "You look weird in that skin. Do you want some brain grease or something?" Opens his hard shell unicorn backpack.
It's bright pink with a unicorn. It's amazing.
Bright pink hard shell backpack with a unicorn on it, and it is loaded with drugs. Like I'm talking about.
Yeah,
packed.
He lists like 6 different drugs or something dumb like that.
He lists so many drugs, and they're just packed in there. And he's just like, "I'll buy them all." Next scene is literally him walking around with this bright pink hard shell unicorn backpack, just dumping drugs into his eyes.
This is tripping balls. It's amazing.
He's just like, "Fuck it, wee!"
And then he inserts that shit into his eye.
Then he inserts the shit in his eye, where he's now high, being bombarded by pop-up ads, basically, wandering around. And then we start seeing, because he's in the lower levels, we start seeing stuff about brothels and other things. We see him pass my favorite one, the Raven Hotel advertisement, where literally this dude who looks oddly like Edgar Allan Poe, I mean, they definitely hired him for that.
Oh, that's why you named our episode that.
There you go. He looks like Edgar Allan Poe, and he's got this lady lounging on him, a snake around his shoulders, and another lady on the floor next to him.
That's
and he's
right,
like, "Yes,
yeah.
we'll let you fall into the darkest desires of your inner secrets," or whatever. He says some weird Poe nonsense. And then he gets into an ad about a fight ring where
that's right, yeah.
high-tech fight sleeves, which are basically just super, like, cloned, roided out human sleeves, are paid to fight against each other. Because, again, it's the future where you're basically immortal. Let me tell you what's going to happen. People are going to fight to the death for each other, like, for the rich people.
Yes, of course they will, because that's what you do.
Yeah.
And immortal, it makes money.
Yeah, and he freaks out because, guess what? He's high as balls, and there are now holographic creatures fighting him, so he's wailing away at the air when the cop shows up and slaps something on his neck, and it's just like, it's a broadcast blocker, it's a peace offering, like, and all the crazy shit he was saying just vanishes.
Yeah, and they have a little conversation of, maybe we got off on the wrong foot. There's no reason to be angry at one another. Let's go get a drink. And they have let's not have a drink, and it devolves into let's go have a drink, but I'm telling you where. And then they go to a strip club, and I love this place so much.
They do indeed go to a strip club.
They go to a strip club, and this is where I remember that weird body mod, because we've got the girl doing the dancing, and she comes over and attempts to get our hero, our brave adventurer, to screw her, and he's like, she's like, "Oh, does this body not please you?" And then she literally like does something, and her entire body changes, becomes a brunette.
She's got mystique powers.
Yeah,
she's got mystique body mod.
And the CG on it was amazing because I didn't even pay like attention to the fact that someone had to visually do all these changes. Like somewhere on a computer, someone had to model these changes in. My brain didn't even go there. It was like, holy shit, he's just changed her body.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
Also, throughout this whole thing, you keep getting conversations about can envoys read minds. He's like, no, envoys can't read minds. It's fine. Like, I'm not a mind reader.
Yeah, this is where it comes in. He explains all this like envoy powers powers.
Yeah,
I think
basically it's modded into their stack where they can read subtle, very very subtle cues that people give off, like the way their body language, more or less. They read their body language almost subconsciously and really really rapidly.
Yeah, they receive information without not that context. Without any like preconceived ideas.
Yeah,
like they just receive data.
Yeah. And then basically he talks to her about a little bit of stuff, and he's like, I need to go, or something, and she's like, why? And he basically explains to her that, if you're in cold storage for a while, you get real horny. And she's like, I'm gonna leave now.
Yep. She's like, I'm peacing out. And he's like, well, I'm gonna go to this hotel.
I'm gonna go to this AI hotel, to which we get one of my favorite lines of, don't sleep there, it's like sleeping with a stalker.
Yes.
And he's like, well, I'm gonna go get some hookers, so bye.
Yeah, I'm gonna get hookers. I'm gonna go stay there. So he finds the Raven, the place, and
nothing makes me happier than the fact he stays at the Raven Hotel. Like nothing.
Amazing. Like they walk in there, and it is pretty much something you would imagine from an Edgar Allan Poe poem. It's dark. Like the walls are dark. There's very little. I mean, it is nighttime, but there's very little light in here. Any light that there is. Yeah, there's a couple of Raven motifs. I don't know if you noticed them. And the guy behind the bar is exactly you'd expect to see someone from like a 1930s, 1940s kind of like gangster sleazy motel. Mm-hmm. It is amazing. And the guy behind the bar, whoever it is that is in the reception, whoever's playing the AI of the Raven, holy crap, it was just so creepy and dark and humorous, but not like like this is so out of place. It was like, this is, I don't know how
humorous. It's just like, what the fuck is going on?
Exactly. And they go through this conversation, and he says, basically says he wants a room and he wants some hookers.
He wants the best of the best of the best of the best.
Yes, he wants all the best things.
Yeah, he's like, how are you going to pay for it? And he's like, line of credit. And the guy's like, okay. And then, of course, what happens? Goons show up.
Yeah, goons. Guns to the back of the head.
Yeah, he gets a gun to the back of the head. And including a guy, again, it's another actor I've seen somewhere, cannot place it. And I'm just
going to ask you if you knew who it was.
I could look it up, and I'm like, there we go. I know exactly who it is. Like, I know who plays the little sister. Like, I can place her. She's in Dollhouse.
Oh, yeah.
But I cannot place where I've seen this dude before.
That's going to bug me. I was hoping that you were going to tell me.
I'll find out and I'll tell you next episode.
Okay, fine. That's a fair compromise.
Remember where I saw him.
Well, do you know what the awkward thing for me is I remember him having an intimate scene with someone, so I remember his physique, but I don't remember who he played or what it was in.
Well, clearly, he wasn't a very good actor during that scene.
Oh, it was clearly acting enough for me to remember the rest of him, his acting assets.
It was this acting that wasn't very good.
Drew's indicating his face.
Yes, there you go, for the podcast listeners.
For the audible listeners.
Basically, the guy shows up and he's like, oh, you're not scary, you stupid little idiot. Like, I could fight you. It'd be so easy. Some of the other goons insult the guy, and the dude with the gun shoots him in the face. Shoots one of his henchmen in the face, more or less. And he's like, fuck off. I'll do what I want to do.
And then the Raven AI is like, I'm going to have to clean that up.
Yeah, he's like, oh, come on. And the Raven keeps talking, like the AI keeps talking, and he's like, shut up, you fucking toaster, or whatever. He's like very rude to the AI.
Microwave.
Yeah, he calls him a microwave. And then they like start to take him out, and they're like, oh, I thought you were so badass. I thought you could read people's minds or whatever. And the Raven's like, oh, I can offer full guest protections to, you just have to touch the screen. Touch the fucking screen, dude.
Because the main guy who we can't remember and the goons are basically walking our not hero out, and they get so far and he's like, oh shit, I think these guys are probably going to shoot me. And the Raven is literally this entire thing's like, you have a minute, you have 30 seconds, 20 seconds, Joe, 10 seconds, touch the things. So and then we have like really interesting thing where we start to see all these different clues like being picked up and played over in his head, which include things like guest protection facilities. He looks around the room and sees things that we're like, oh, what the hell is that? He hears things like it's like sleeping with your stalker. It's like a well overprotective aggressive girlfriend.
Yep.
And we hear all these little things. We're like, what the hell is this leading towards?
And then he does my favorite thing in all action movies, where he stumbles around as if he's been beat up so badly, and everyone falls for the ruse, of course, and he touches the screen, and Poe's like, cool, and Gatling guns come down from the ceiling.
Like, I'm fucking batshit crazy.
And just start murdering people. And Poe, they call him Poe in the show later, picks up a shotgun and just starts blasting people.
It's awesome.
Oh,
like just like the way that the places he looked up to is like, oh, that's where the Gatling guns come out. They have like laser sights on them or red dots to make sure they're shooting the right target.
Exactly.
And they just like make absolute fucking mincemeat of all these things. But of course, our not hero here is like, I need to talk to this guy.
Yeah.
Because,
This is the part where we see him be an actual badass. Like, we get to see he actually knows what he's doing. Because while all the other goons are being murdered by Gatling guns and shotguns, he's fighting this dude that we don't remember what we've seen him in, and just beating the shit out of him. Just like, not even breaking a sweat. He like breaks his arm and chops him in the throat and flips him over a table, all sorts of stuff. He's just like, whatever. More or less just slaps this guy around like it's no big deal.
Yeah.
And
he's also very smart in the way that he positions himself, because the Gatling guns obviously can only fire in a certain way, in a certain place. And he literally puts his body between them and the guy he's beating the snot out of, so he can get some answers.
He needs to know who sent him. Who sent you? You know, the classic.
Yeah.
Who sent you?
Yeah.
But the guy breaks out of a hold and steps back so that the hotel can shoot him.
Yeah.
Because he wants to die, because that way he doesn't have to give any answers. Haha, tricked you, and I'll be back in like a week, because death isn't even a thing in this.
Permanent, yeah, it's not. So we have that nice little thing going on, and then the cops turn up.
Cops show up, and of course it's the cop lady we saw and her partner before.
Yes.
Because that's how all TV shows work, honestly. You don't see other cops. And she's like, what the fuck? You've been out of prison for like 8 hours, and there's a bunch of dead bodies everywhere. What have you been doing?
Yeah, and this is where they pick up. They go to a guy that we can't remember. She removes his stack quite like viscerally. It's very cool.
Oh yeah, it's
she
a cool
gets
scene.
an ass knife and just like hacks it out of the back of his head. And they do the scan. They realize it's Dmitri something.
A hitman out of Vladivostok.
Nailed it.
I can't.
I'm not going to try and repeat that, but that basically was it. And that he is potentially one of these people who has illegal.
Correct me.
I'm not going to correct you even if you were wrong.
I meant anyone who was watching, if you know how to say it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, please do that. Phonetically, please.
Yes, please. I speak one language very badly, and it's English, okay?
You're nailing it. So... Almost.
I'm like a parrot, okay? I just repeat the sounds I hear.
So we find out that this Dmitri guy is he makes illegal copies of himself.
Yeah, he's called
and
Dmitri
now they have one stack. They might be able to prove it if they find another version of him.
And the penalty for making illegal black market copies of yourself is real death.
It's real
death. So they can get both copies of him. They can literally just crush the stacks and be like, and there we go, he's dead.
And we find that he's like a top level hitman. He's not like some low level grunt. He is a top level
hitman for the Yakuza.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, that's fun. And this is where we find out that our hero, not hero, has decided to take the case of the murder. Because.
Oh, okay. Because the only reason somebody would send this much muscle after him at this point, after 250 years, is because they don't want him to look into Lawrence Bancroft's murder. So it means, or suicide/murder, which means that he didn't commit suicide. He was definitely murdered.
Yes.
Which is honestly some pretty good deductions, because the one cop is like, what, you don't think anyone's going to want to kill an asshole like you? And he's like, yeah, 250 years ago when I was a pain in everyone's ass.
And now I'm nobody. This is not my world.
Nobody knows who I am.
Yeah, no one's a fuck now. Like, I'm putting on the ice for 250. All of his contacts would be dead,
Yeah.
He's the man out of time. Yeah, and he basically says, "You should have been doing your job. You've clearly missed something. These assholes are trying to kill me." So yeah, I'm gonna take this. And he eventually phones up Bancroft and he says, "Yep, I'll take the case."
Well, he phones him while he's getting the tattoo, which
Yes,
I
that's
like. He
right.
goes to the
Yes.
tattoo parlor, and he gets the tattoo we see at the opening credits, which is a snake biting its own tail in the shape of an
Of an
infinity
eight.
of an eight. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a very cool bit of imagery, and that's pretty much the end of the episode.
Yeah, pretty
I
much.
don't think
Yeah.
anything else of note happens.
Uh,
So
I think the only other real thing that we didn't come across was in his drugged out high state, and I don't remember when it comes in. Is he talks to the image or memory of his ex girl of his girlfriend or whatever
oh
it is?
yeah, he is drugged out at one point. Um, before he officially takes the case, and he talks about he could just kill himself and it would be and everything would be over. And his ex girlfriend's like, "Nope, everything's still here. Just you aren't here. So do what I taught you to do, and make it and fix it. Like,
Yeah,
fix the
because
thing."
there's something going on here that's not. There's like a puzzle needs solving, a box needs
Yeah, and he's
opening.
like, "Why would I care about a meth?" And she's like, "You don't. There's an unanswered question here about why he was killed to begin with."
Yeah, which is a really cool like little thing because either it's his envoy increases going on in which she basically explains everything I've taught you, which includes all this stuff, which included how to get back onto his feet so quickly after coming out of being revived or rebooted or respawn or whatever
Yep.
it's called. So there was that thing that she taught him that. So clearly, this Greek or somebody says like, "I've taught you all these skills. Do this." So either this is a part of his envoy training, which is trying to teach him something or trying to remind him subconsciously of something he's subconsciously picking up, or it is a reaction to being spun up recently, which is like, I love the fact that you don't know.
We don't know yet, but it's
I love
great,
it.
and I love it.
Yeah.
Yolanda, how would you rate this episode?
I'm gonna go on a 5. I fucking love this episode, man.
5 whole light bulbs.
5 whole light bulbs because the writing was fucking amazing. I can't tell you enough how amazing this writing was. The visual effects in this were so subtly done or so wonderfully worked in, or they did it in such a way where they know, hang on, visual effects aren't quite like absolutely freaking goddamn amazing yet. Let's put them in all dark, horrible places because it's easier to hide them. I don't really care. The look of this was incredible. Like there was not a single shot in this I wouldn't have thought, oh, you could stick that on a big screen in a theater and it wouldn't look good. Like everything in this looked amazing. Everything was like filmed properly. Everything looked amazing. The lighting was great. The set design was awesome. It was amazing. Yeah, just so much of this I like, and it's intriguing. And the main character is an asshole, and I love it. I am intrigued. I was very sad that I couldn't watch episode 2. That's what I was going to say to Drew. Is like I had to hit back, and I felt really bad.
Yeah, that's a rough one. How would you rate the series based on one episode?
I'm gonna hold on because
Ooh.
I don't want to give you my series thoughts yet because I don't know.
You don't know what's going on. All right.
Yeah, one episode does not a series make.
Would you recommend the series based on this first episode?
Yeah, I'd be like, yeah, watch this. Let's see what happens together, shall we? I thought it was a good episode. I wanted to watch more when I saw it over the shoulder of my housemate, but I never got into it.
Never got. Well, now you have to. You have
now
to
I have.
watch
Now
it
everything
every
is
week.
new for me. What about you, dude? How many light bulbs?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it 5. Like, even watching it again, I was not bored, which is considering I only watched it like 6 months ago. Like, that's pretty great. I wasn't bored with what I was seeing. I still very much bought in and invested into the world very rapidly because it's very well written. It's very well done. They did a very good job, and they put money into the right spots, and they got the right people to make this show, and they did such a good job of it.
It feels really well built as a world.
It does.
Without going in your face about it. What about, are you going to series? Well, I don't know. Do you know what? You've watched this series. I'm going to ask you for a series rating.
Based on what I remember, because I binged it and it's been a while, I'd say it's a solid 8 at least. There's
8 light bulbs out of 5?
Oh, well, I guess if we're going to do 5, it would be like 4 light bulbs then, if we're going to do a series out of 5. I think there's a few things in it that didn't sit right with me, and I'm like, well, I don't like that. Not to say it's not to say it's terrible or anything, but it killed it for me. Now, granted, there are 10 episodes or so it's not bad. It's still a very good series. I would still recommend it. I'm still going to say I would recommend this series.
Well, based on your recommendation, I would watch it. I now have to watch it. Even if this turns into trash fire, at least it starts well, and it's not. I'm hoping it gets better. This was good to start with.
Saying as someone who's seen it, it gets better.
Oh,
They
wow.
keep this level of quality consistently. Again, there's just a few things in it that I remember that I'm like, I didn't like the thing that you did there, but okay. They do a very good job. It's based off of a trilogy, which means we're going to get at least 3 seasons if they renew it that many times, but we can get at least 3 seasons out of it.
Well, as we found out 5 minutes before we started this, they have a series 2 incoming. It got confirmed.
That's true.
We linked into their Twitter account. I'm like, oh, and it says, oh, series 2 confirmed. I'm like, oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, hell yeah, I waited episode 1.
Because by the time this season ended last time, I was like, no, I want to see more. What?
That's good.
Why is there not more?
Where's more of this? We need more of this. I enjoyed this. This is good.
It's very good. But Volando, we have a secret stream in 30 minutes, so
We do have a secret stream in 30 minutes.
we're gonna have to sign off, everyone, and we'll be back next Friday with episode 2 of Altered Carbon. I'm very excited about it. But Volando, if you would like to do your sign-offs.
You can find me on Twitter at blood_BTP. You can find me every Monday as the voice of the world in the Lucky Die podcast. You can see me, I think, nowhere else this week. Yeah, because we're not doing Requiem this week, I don't think. No, we're not. Okay, so yes, next time I'm online, like officially for people to see other than on Twitter, is back here next week. So.
All right, then.
What about you, my man?
You can find me on Twitter at NotThatDrew. You can find me on Taking Initiative every other Monday, which we are getting into some serious stuff in. It's getting real good. You can find me here every Friday doing this. And every Thursday I do Moonlighter, usually. I am going to have to shift the time on that, which there will be an announcement on Twitter. So if you watch me play Moonlighter every Thursday, watch my Twitter. Yeah, I appear on Twitch from time to time. Mostly just find me on Twitter. Go check me out there. You'll find out what I'm doing based on that.
Send us tweets, yo.
Yeah, tweet at us. Tweet at us. Tweet at Couch for It. Just...
And listen to our... I'll just say watch our other shows. Listen to our other shows.
Yes, listen to our other shows because they're all podcasts. And we put a lot of effort into them and time and feelings. And
there are feelings. So many feelings.
I appear frequently on Lucky Die, so if you like my dulcet tones, go check that out.
I appear frequently on Meanwhile in Barovia.
You do. In fact, you're going to appear on there in 27 minutes, roughly.
Yes, exactly. Right, so we should log off.
Yeah, we should. But thank you for joining us, everybody. We'll be back next week. Good night.
Bye!